If knowledge is power, then the art of sharing knowledge through documentary is one of life's most powerful pursuits. This brand of film, bordering on narrative, requires a high level of expertise, motivation for the truth, and the frosting on the cake, some sense of reality. However, it's fair to say that Gameau's measly attempt at such got creamed for lack of scientific correlations to his thesis, credibility, and his uncanny, or dare I say uncanny, ego. The film follows a narrative structure and illustrates personalization towards intimate details of Damon Gameau's life, factoring to support the conclusion that that sugar film was more narrative than documentary, simply a hero's tale to conquer the fiend of sugar. Upon analysis, that sugar film shows more features of being of narrative rather than documentary. The film's layout follows the same outline of that in a story, orientating with introduction of the characters and setting. The film... Sound familiar? Hi, my name is Damon Gameau. From there, a narrative usually steers towards the direction of establishing what adventure the protagonist is to embark on. I want to do this mission. I want to find out what sugar does to me. Then comes the complication, all the events in between, and conclusively, the resolution. Gameau's documentary practically follows this down to the fine point. The complication? His weight gain and sudden development of fatty liver disease after just 18 days. And all the events in between, going on a trip to USA and Armata, an Aboriginal community in Australia's rural south, to investigate hidden sugars. Pursuing this fictional film star further, a study released information that documentaries make an average of just $843,000 in box office, whilst Gameau cashed in on a whopping $1.5 million. So why did Gameau's film take on nearly double the average? The answer lies here. In the narrative progression the film takes on, the personalization constructed, the monomyth journey we embark on, and the manipulation and the strategic way that the film targets thousands by feeding the public lies about the hostile impact of hidden sugars. Though dare I say, there's nothing hidden about the sugaring companies like Coca-Cola and Mountain Dew, whose new marketing slogan might as well be, buy one, get a set of black decaying teeth free. Many experts in the film all lack any sort of scientific or nutritional qualifications, and take on the roles of being more characters than knowledgeable sources. Graphic techniques are also used to make the experts look like individual members of a comical cast. Illustrations of this are Professor Blood, checkups, and taking on an air of nobility, the Celtic food queen. Considering this, it would be a disservice to allow the public to believe that Gameau's study was faultless, especially considering his daily dose of 40 teaspoons was hardly measured accurately, and the so-called professionals were strategically chosen to support Gameau's anti-sugar craze, rather than provide the credibility to support or more fittingly refute them. The significance of this is that the film glazes over proper analysis of facts and simply plucks out a few inapt cranks, developing a crew inclusive of wellness leaders, a guy with the middle name Avocado, and an estranged narcissist who relishes calling the minds of sugar addicts fuzzy. Not many people realise just how pervasive sugar is in the food supply. It's found in about 75% of the food we eat, Gameau was quoted saying. This assists the branch from the inadequate experts to the manipulation of facts provided throughout the duration of the film. To shed light on Gameau's statement, the amount of sugar we might be consuming may be correct, yet he fails to identify the vital difference in the types of these sugars in our diet, natural and refined. Natural sugars, simple carbohydrates, are part of a balanced diet, as the body needs glucose for our cells. By assuming that all sugars are wicked means to exclude natural sugars, like fruit, with fibre and water our body deems necessary and essential from our diet too. From a chemical standpoint, our body does break down natural and added sugars into fructose and glucose, which are metabolized the same. However, the body processes these at different rates. Natural sugars release energy like a slow burn source throughout the day, whereas refined is immediately broken down to start the never-ending cycle of sugar cravings once more. Of course, Gameau doesn't elaborate on this, further adding weight to the fictional side of the film rather than fact. In the film, Gamow also makes several groggy, evidence-lacking assumptions, such as the conclusion that children in the classroom have developed bipolar disorder from consuming sugar as part of their daily lunchtime routine. Though he does make a fair comment on the education and diets of youth, this hardly causes mental illness, as the study concluded that 80% of people diagnosed with bipolar disorder inherited this due to genetic factors, physical illness, or environment. I mean, unless their chosen place of residence is a quaint cottage flanked by ice-frosted mountains of cakes, open streams of soda, and blush clouds of melt-in-your-mouth cotton candy, his thesis is seriously flawed. That Sugar film attempts to use personalization to sugarcoat the fact that Dame and Gamow simply fused together two categories of media, but trying to resurrect a candy Frankenstein, it turns sour. Lacking the elements, facts, and experts a well-constructed documentary requires to educate people on hidden sugars, that Sugar film aimed for the stars and fell short, much like one of the so-called experts, post-NASA physicist Tom Campbell. During the film, Gamow appears to be quite heedless, as he frequently breaks the confines of documentaries, staring directly into the eye of the camera, and showing shots of him and his pregnant girlfriend buying cots and cracking jokes as if the viewer couldn't resist laughing along with him. Instead, the audience was left wondering why, just because he had started eating like a kid in a candy store, he'd been avoiding shaving, and he no longer had the ability to fight caveman instinct. Sorry. While some might argue that Sugar film brushes on a few significant topics such as the obliviousness of dangerous added sugars in our diet, Gamow generalizes sugars too much in the film, and even contradicts himself by claiming to investigate hidden sugars, by adding scenes with zero relevance to his thesis. To give illustration of some of these scenes, in one, Gamow tries the miracle berry pill. In another, visits communities centered around junk food, and then met a young man addicted to Mountain Dew. The results of his craving for sugar? Black rotting teeth and high risk of dental infection. Whilst this does evoke shock and outrage in the audience, there is more to be said about this in the forms of poverty, lack of education, and nutrition. Either way, Gamow strategically adds this segment to make it appear as if he's an almighty figure visiting victims of the brute sugar, using interview and voiceover in a way that paints Larry as being a character in a narrative. A form materialized of everything that sugar can do, furthermore, supporting the fictional route the film takes. So what does make a documentary? It is, in summary, a film that centers around a single concept and presents the facts, allowing the audience to form their own opinion about such, instead of following a storyline or adventure. To conclude, that Sugar film breaks the typical conventions of documentary film in this way, using personalization, narrative structure, a cluster of uncreditable characters for experts, and biases the audience by leading the film in the direction of a themed tale. To contrast, a proper documentary is made like a cake, a base of the filmmaker not wielding manipulation of facts, 2 tablespoons of unbiased and impartial approach to tell both sides of the story, and a whole scoop of unique focus to the film, and a pinch of refreshing, unprejudiced perspective. It should also be mentioned that Gamow and his wife held previous careers in acting. Who knows, maybe their daughter, conveniently named after the delicious cake Velvet, is on the charade too. Thank you.